What's up? The lighting is weird now. It wasn't like a couple hours ago when there was light from there. I'm still behind, but I just watched the next episode of Arrow. So, I'm going to start off. It's episode 13, The Devil's Greatest Trick. It looked like from the trailer and what had happened with Vince that this was going to be like a giant finale type feeling, even though it's episode 13. Not even, there's still 10 more to go. So it did end a really giant arc for these 13 episodes, but I feel like it wasn't as exciting as the trailer and everything had led up to it being. And so, for me, it kind of disappointed, but at the same time, it developed a lot of things and fleshed a lot of things out that needed to come to an end. So we start off the episode by Oliver and Dig going in to recon the area that they had just flushed, where Vince died and where Caden James was operating out of. So they go into the bunker. Caden James has all these TVs set up. He talks to Oliver and Dig and says, "Hey, you have only until midnight, and I'm detonating this bomb. There's nothing you can do about it." Oliver tries to tell Caden James that he's like, "Hey, no, I have proof that I'm not the one who killed your son. It was somebody else. Just give us time." And he's like, "Nope, sorry, you got till midnight." So what he does is he has Barry, who's in jail or just got out of jail. That's a tough one. I don't know, I guess. Episode 13. I guess that's when he does break out, I guess. He broke out like 2 days before. So he has Barry run over, grab him and Dig, and he goes up to Caden James' vehicle and he's like, "Hey, here's the evidence." Caden James believes him because there's the digital footprint stuff. He's like, "I believe in the data." That's his forte. And excuse me. So Oliver convinces him to give him some extra time. Blah 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 blah. Anyways, we get a flashback to the basketball court where Caden James approaches his son after missing a game. He feels bad about it. You see that Caden James is kind of just like a normal guy who just kind of has gotten a shitty end of the stick over and over and over, which makes you feel bad for him almost, because he's been dealt such a shit hand. And at the very end of the episode, I just kind of was like, damn, that sucks for that guy. So they found out that an assassin killed Owen. There's a name drop in there that I totally missed. Apparently the assassin was somebody Oliver had already known to be dead. How they knew he was dead, I don't remember. But that's something probably that happened earlier. I'm going to go check it after I film the video. Maybe put it in the comments if it's worthwhile. So, they convince Caden James that, hey, yo, we didn't do this. You can't detonate the bomb. But there's a catch to it. Oliver has to go find Diaz, Anatoly, and Black Siren and bring them to Caden James. So that's a hard enough task. Then he brings them to Caden James later on. He has to stop Dinah from killing Laurel because she's dead set on doing that. They easily talked her out of doing it though, because they're like, the whole city's in danger. Caden James knows that one of them has betrayed him. We need them to all go there and confess to him, otherwise he's gonna blow up the city. And she's like, okay, it makes sense, I'll wait. So Oliver goes and talks Dinah out of it. He captures all three of them. He sticks Dinah and Quentin on Laurel, and then him and Dig go to get Anatoly, and Mr. Terrific and Wild Dog grab Diaz, and then they call up Caden James, and they're like, yo, where do you want these guys? We got them all. Caden James says, bring them to this abandoned theater, and William heard that over the phone while Felicity was talking to him, and so he sneaks out and goes to the theater. which is a bold move, and I think it's going to develop into some more later on in the series. We're getting into some exciting stuff here later. After I'm going to get to it. So, as like I'm looking at my notes, obviously. So they're all in the theater. Diaz is saying shit. Anatoly's being quiet for once. And Laurel's tries to say, "Hey, it was me." Gets close to the bomb detonator, and the detonator's or whatever charge, electrical charge, dampens Laurel's little collar, the power dampener, and so she rips that off and knocks everybody out. Everybody starts running around. In the end, Anatoly escapes, Diaz escapes. Caden James is there with Oliver and William. William backs away. Oliver's being a good father. Caden James confesses to being a horrible dad and not being there for him, which I feel like is really hard for him to do because he was doing so much good work with Helix. He was taking away money from greedy corporations, hacktivist stuff, like good hacking, not bad hacking like he's doing now. And he just got taken in by Argus for doing these good things. He never gets to see his son again, and somebody's trying to get at him because they know how he would react. And you just are like, damn, like Caden James, like he's a smart guy. You think he gets played. He's too far into his emotions, and he just kind of lost it. You know what I mean? Which is ironic because Diaz says that in the theater, and he did just kind of go spiral downwards and kind of screwed himself over. And Diaz ends up killing him. We find out there's the new head officer is on Diaz's payroll, which I feel like that's something he would have already told to Caden James prior to that, like, last kind of meeting with them, because she knew about the Argus agents coming in. And that's how else do you know if there's no, technically, I feel like that's something that they could have just left open-ended and had us figure it out later. But if they want to tell us that now, that's fine. So yeah, basically, that whole arc with Caden James, is, in a sense, not important at all. Because this entire time, it's been about Diaz. And yeah, that's one of the members on the giant roster that Caden James had assembled. And that's something Oliver's never had to go up against. And especially because he had to go at it 2-3 weeks in a row, basically alone. Because Spartan was off and the rest of his team did not trust him. It was one man against that giant army. And he was not being very successful about it, and the team still split up. But the reason this episode for me is not as great as it could have been is because Diaz as a character didn't seem like anybody who was like, I have this giant plan to rule Star City. And being a part of Caden James's posse doesn't really fit in with that same plan Diaz has. Is like, there's no way Diaz, that guy who's just a drug dealer, this is stereotyping his character from what we know. What they've shown so far is he doesn't seem smart enough and have a big enough plan to first outsmart somebody like Caden James, who's outsmarting Felicity, Cisco, any hacker, any of the tech people in the DC universe. Caden James is that smart. And two, to outsmart everybody on Team Arrow and have it down to the wire enough to know that Caden James isn't going to detonate this bomb that he's threatening to. And I'm going to be able to get away in the midst of everything that's going on. Not to mention to know that Vince would double cross, he'd be considered out of the running for somebody who's backstabbing Caden James, because Caden James expected to trade her already. Before even Vince probably started going rogue. He probably already had assumed. Why wouldn't Diaz be afraid of something like that? This is getting pretty complex. Anyways, what I'm saying is Diaz does not seem like the kind of character to have all this planned out at all. He just seems and he was rolling with Caden James's plan. I'm sure he had some input here and there, but it was his operation that he was a part of for this giant span of time. So how is he being part of that and then having this giant plan that overarches everything? It's just going to be hard to kind of tie in that he's been the villain and is going to be the villain of the season. I don't see how it's going to play out, which normally would excite me, but the way they executed it this episode and the way they've executed his character up to this point makes me wonder why he's the choice. So, like, if they had worked on his, like, overall arc when they brought the Diggle thing in, if they had made him seem more villainous and more treacherous than just some drug dealer who's trying to make money, and then put him into that group, it really does not make a lot of sense to me. I've already said everything that I have to. Anyways, getting back to the fun stuff, this is episode 13. 14, I'm going to go watch because it's already came out. Tomorrow, the 8th, is episode 15, which means Colton Haynes is coming back. With the stuff that just happened with William, him going out on the risky limb, I wouldn't be surprised if they start training William. If the whole reason Colton Haynes comes back is because Oliver needs something or an anecdote or something like that to teach William that, hey, if you want to be doing this dangerous stuff, you have to be well equipped and well trained going into the field, otherwise shit's gonna happen. This is somebody who I've trained, who knows what they're doing, and he's gonna help tie in somehow. I would love to see something like that. I thought Caden James's plan wasn't gonna be fleshed out till the end of the season. I was sure he was the villain. Excuse me. I just don't see where they're going with it now. But I would love to see what they're doing with Colton Haynes in episode 15 and why they necessarily need him. I'm assuming they're going to have some big plans, but right now I don't see much. I don't see any direction of where the season's going, and it should have at least some direction. The only thing that they have going for them is that they have to catch Laurel, which she's already in custody with Quentin. He could turn her in at any point. He's not going to. But they have Laurel. They need Diaz, and what's going to happen with Anatoly. That's the only framework they have for the rest of the season, and they have to build off those three pillars, which aren't anything really established as of motive-wise for now. The only thing that's really, I'd say the pillar that's most established is Laurel's. And that Quentin's going to try and save her and bring her back into the fold, and I think he's going to die. I don't think he's going to be successful, and she's going to end up killing him. The next pillar that's most established is probably... I honestly don't think there's much to run off Anatoly or Diaz. So it's a tough call for me because, yeah, they could bring the Russian mob back into Star City, and maybe those two are fighting for it. Who knows? Maybe they're go to war, the cartel and the Russian mafia. I can see something definitely flesh out there. I don't see why they take that direction or the whole purpose of that, but it's a possibility. And for Diaz, I have no idea what his overall plan is. He wants to run Star City. Who knows why? Who knows how he's going to do it? And who knows what the extent of his capabilities are. Because as far as we know, he's not a metahuman. He's just a drug lord. Doesn't have much experience other than that. As far as we know. I mean, he could surprise us. We were talking just last episode about Vince and how Felicity was whispering in his ear, and he goes, I was underestimating you. I guess I should have. Caden James underestimated everybody on his team, apparently, but yeah, that's that. We're gonna go watch the next episode of Arrow and see where it goes from here because I'm honestly baffled. I don't know where it's going at all. So we'll find out. Peace out. I will see you next episode. This was Arrow episode 13, The Devil's Greatest Trick, and I'll see you for episode 14. Peace out.